Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Welcome to the Rolling Bad Podcast, episode number 19, coming to you from the desolate wastelands of Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're recording on February 21st, and I'm your host, Elric Edge. With me tonight are
Bill Costello.
And James Tapia.
Tonight's episode, we're going to talk about our normal things, with what's come out in the hobby, what we've been up to in the hobby, as well as how important soft scores are in all events, those that are perceived as competitive and narrative, and other stuff. So, let's do a show.
Well, before we do a show, I want to make one announcement on behalf of the podcast. We are going to run our first ever contest to win a real prize. Not a fake prize, not the admiration of your fans, but a real prize. Up for grabs is a brand new
Copy of Bill's phone number.
Yeah, I said a prize.
Oh.
A brand new copy of the Stormcast Eternals Battle Tome. The new one, not the old one.
Yeah, really. We're giving away our old ones.
Yeah, no. No, it's a brand new copy, unopened. Even we haven't put our grubby fingers through it. And in order to win this, all you need to do is go to iTunes for our show and leave us a reasonably nice review. We prefer 5 stars, but, you got to do what you got to do. And what we're going to do is start the count tonight, or maybe we'll go back to the other guys we have in there as well. So a month from today, we'll make a random drawing and see who wins, and then we'll contact you and ship you out a brand new copy of the Stormcast Eternals Battle Tome. Does that sound like a plan?
What if they don't use iTunes?
Oh, no. Wow, that's going to be bad. You have to go to iTunes. Sorry.
No.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, so do it.
Oh, yeah. All you got to do is go to iTunes, give Apple a piece of your soul,
Mm-hmm.
and
It's a small one.
you're not using it anyways.
That's right.
And yeah, just leave a review and then delete iTunes.
Yeah.
Never
That's all
go back to it
That's all
again.
you have to do. Unless you're a real man, in which case you'll become part of the cult of Apple and realize how nice it is to work without borders. So now we're ready to do a show?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
let's do a show. The Realm of the New Dawn, where we're going to talk about new things that have come out from Games Workshop concerning Age of Sigmar and maybe a little bit other stuff. But I kind of wanted to lead off with, I did a video last night because I got in the mail my limited edition Stormcast Eternals Battle Tome. And at the price of $80, not that you can order it anymore, but if you find someone willing to sell it to you on eBay for $150, don't do it, okay? Because really what you're getting is the Stormcast Battle Tome hardcover with a really neat magnetized flip lid with an extra piece of art on it, a cloth bookmark, and a little imprint on the front that says number X of 300. I think mine's 52 of 300. Other than that, you're paying double the price for absolutely nothing different. Gold gilded edges. So, I mean, if you're a true collector and you're that kind of guy that wants that stuff,
If you're
yeah.
Bill. If you're Bill. pretty
Yeah,
much.
your bill.
Well, it's out of the shrink wrap, so it's obviously not for me.
Yeah. Well, if it's your army, I think. Because I bought the limited edition dwarf book for 8th edition fantasy because, that was my book, and I didn't think that Orcs and Goblins were going to get another one
Yeah.
by the time 8th wasn't a thing anymore. That being said, I absolutely regretted buying that book.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely wasn't worth it.
I don't want to say I regret buying it because it's really nice. It's a really nice book. It's very nice, and it's going to look great on the shelf because I'm not going to use it in a game. I'll have another one or the iPad version because I don't want to screw that one up. But it's just, the 40K collector's editions came with so much stuff. Usually came with the psychic power cards and other cards for the army and art prints and usually
Tokens
at
or
least
something.
6 objective markers, really nice metal ones. So you were paying a premium price for it, but you were getting stuff.
Yeah.
Here, paid double for the Battle Tome and got the Battle Tome definitely presented in a lot nicer manner, but it's
one you're not going to use.
right. And, if it had come with like 6 objective markers or 4 objective markers that were Stormcast themed or something like that, I would feel way better about it, but nothing.
Yeah.
So, live and learn.
Well, at least they only made 300 of them.
Yeah, so there's only 299 other guys like me going, this is really cool.
I was just going to say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have a lot of people in your club that are playing Stormcast and you bring that in on a Saturday, you can go, hey, look, noobs, look what I got. Yeah. And you don't. So
they're going to be like, well, yeah, I bought the regular one and a box of models.
Oh, you're
and I can use both.
Yeah, but I have this cool cloth bookmark.
Yeah.
Highlighting the page of your new models.
Exactly.
I hate you. So, also on the new front, up for pre-order this week is the Lord Aquilor and the Vanguard Palladors for the Stormcast. So the releases are continuing to dribble out from GW to start expanding the Stormcast Eternal range. And I think since they dropped the Warrior Brotherhood and some of the other Battle War Scroll battalions, I think you're going to see a lot more different Stormcast armies now. Instead of just, wow, look, I'm playing Stormcast, so there's the War Bros, yay.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll do an episode more focused on the new Stormcast book and all the shenanigans that are within it, but I'm pretty excited to see what people do with it. I'm really hoping that there's not like a list or two that float to the top. I don't think there will be, because with the new units that came out with the Raptors or whatever.
The Aetherwing and...
Well, the heavy crossbow dudes.
Oh, yeah.
There's the Raptors and then the Hurricane.
Yeah,
the Hunters.
Exactly. Yeah, the Hunter guys, and then the Lord Aquilor and stuff. It gives so many options.
Yeah.
Because those guys are good, but they didn't invalidate older things.
Well,
so like Celestin on a Dracoth is still really good.
And they made some of the older ones way better. The Vexillor is now a thing. The Relictor is now a thing.
Exactly.
It's guys that you never saw unless they were doing their little, the Vexillor was there for one reason, a 200-point teleport. So
yeah. And then some of the other staple pieces I think are still viable. Things like the Heralder and the Venator and things like that. So, and I think the Azero still has a place. Some of the Lantern abilities are still really good. The ability to teleport your army around.
Well, and the idea that you can have the Lantern you come with and the Lantern, the new... that's just...
Yeah, it doesn't suck to be able to drop in and open that lantern and do damage like you did before. Andrew talked about that in one of his games where he did over 30 mortal wounds to a demon army, and that guy can still do that. Yeah. In fact, it's even more available now because the Venator or the Vexillor dropped in 60 points. So
yeah, I tell you, this is a pure example of fixing a problem-broken army, not by nerfing it, but by making it all work together better to give you more options. This is so much better than in the old days. GW just would have said, okay, you can't use that War Scroll Battalion anymore, and all the requisite pieces now cost, 500 points more.
Well, I think what they used to do was just swing the pendulum completely in the opposite direction. So they made a large portion of your collection you already had based around a certain build.
Invalid, yeah.
Not necessarily invalid, just not nearly as good as it was. Right, and then they'd make all the stuff that nobody was buying really good.
Yeah.
Whereas now, there's like nothing really in a Stormcast army that's not usable. Like I called out the Judicators with crossbows, but Kieran was pointing out that they can still, now with the new battle trait, drop in and double tap. And there's a lot of synergies built into the army as a whole now that make those guys even better. And so
I'm actually glad now that I built 5 of them that way. Because, when I first built them, I thought I was going to try to make them work. But they never really did. Now I'm like, thank God I've already got 5 of them.
Sure. So, you can definitely try them at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can pull an Andrew. He tried it.
But that was before the new book. They were hot garbage before this.
Yeah, they were flaming hot garbage.
There was no point to take
them. They had
but
no range. Their only thing was they got 2 shots instead of 1.
Well, or 3 if they didn't move or whatever. But they didn't have a rend, and that's the biggest thing. But now that won't matter as much because they can potentially pour out just so many shots,
so many regular wounds.
So
yeah, they matter now, which is nice. So yeah, and the with the new stuff coming out, the Aquilor and the Palladors, it's going to give you so many different ways. I think Ben Curry's podcast this morning, his AOS Daily this morning, he was talking about he sees like 10 or 11 really good Stormcast lists, but not one that just goes, it's the new War Bros, so just concentrate on this.
Right.
What else is there for New Dawn?
Warhammer Quest, the video game, is available now on the PlayStation 4 and coming to the Xbox One.
That's nice.
Yeah, so
I like that game.
yeah, it's $20, but it comes with everything, all the DLC.
Nice.
So if that's your thing, you get to play it on a screen that's bigger than your phone or
Yeah,
tablet.
my iPad, yeah.
It's a fun game.
It
was
is.
really well done. It's an absolute shame that Rodeo Games went tits up.
Yeah.
So because
Oh,
Deathwatch is a really good game too.
Yeah, way.
But that's and Bretonians are an army on Warhammer
Oh, yeah.
Total War.
Total War.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, a lot of people were pretty
saw that.
excited about that.
I wonder what that heralds for the future, if anything.
I would imagine that the guys behind Total War, what are they, Creative Arc, or I forget the name of the company. I would imagine that they're going to blow up the game and then nobody can play it. I don't know.
Oh, and all you dwarves?
Yeah.
Sorry.
They're going to release a virus that uninstalls the game from everyone's computer and nobody
Yes.
can play it again.
And then for 6 months, you have to just stare at your blank screen.
yeah.
And then we're going to come out with Tiddlywinks.
Yeah. Wah, wah. No. I think that's about it.
Yeah, there's really not. I mean, we covered a
good
lot
deal
of
of
it
it.
in the White Dwarf, so there's no sense rehashing.
Yeah, the new Warhammer Quest. They've
Mhm.
got some pretty tasty bits about that on the Warhammer community page.
site, yeah. That's about it. But we want to announce the return of a very special segment that we haven't done in a long time because GW's been so forthright with information. But coming up next is the Realm of Whispers, and you're not going to want to miss it.
The Realm of Whispers. Have you guys seen the leak about the Gathering Storm 4?
No, what?
So I guess somebody got a copy of it from the publisher.
Oh, man.
It's a digital copy or something. They haven't started printing it yet. I know the Rise of the Primarch book is getting ready to launch and come out, but
It's
apparently
hinted at.
this is the next book.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, here's some information about it. So remember how the Star Child theory was discarded as a Zinch plot, where Cypher was trying to get back to Terra to kill the Emperor to release him so that he'd be reborn as a kind of like a Chaos God with something more, whatever.
That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, it turns out it's actually what Cypher is trying to do. Apparently, he is trying to get to Terra to, quote, kill the Emperor. It's not technically killing him, though, since he's not there or something. It gets weird. Hopefully they explain it more in the book. Anyway, he actually makes it to Terra, but he's unable to complete his task. The essence of the Emperor is so faded that they need to make a stronger connection to him in order to kill him. Again, hopefully that's explained more. See, this is where Gilliman comes into play.
Uh-oh.
Because we have the Primarch, which we'd never seen before. Apparently, in order to make a stronger connection to the essence of the Emperor, that chick from the Aeneid trio says that they have to sacrifice Gilliman. That will apparently draw in the Emperor's force enough.
What?
Because it's his son, so that Cypher can completely sever his tie to reality, and he can be reborn.
Oh, my God.
So Gilliman is obviously not a fan, but I guess some unknown character shows up and convinces him, maybe like the spirit of a Primarch, maybe Sanguinius?
Oh, man.
So,
Blood Angels rejoice.
yeah. So Cypher, puts his sword through Gilliman and kills, right? Which is crazy because they just brought out that,
him.
yeah. So, and kills him, right? Thereby releasing his power and summoning the essence of the Emperor.
Oh, my God.
And apparently the Emperor shows up and says, Gilliman was a bitch. You need a stronger Primarch. I regret making him. Before vanishing to the sound of a Rick Astley song. Love you, Andrew.
The preceding was brought to you by Satire. Okay, that's enough whispers.
the realm of creation, where we're going to talk about what we've been up to in the hobby the last 2 weeks. Bill, you have anything?
If we count purchasing, yes.
Sure.
Well, I bought those Vanguard Hunters, and all the rest of my Zinch stuff came in. So I now have 2 Getting Started Zinch boxes, 2 Lords of Change, 7 boxes of Enlightened / Skyfires. Yeah, I've got a Zinch army. That's, in shrink wrap. I just haven't been motivated. The thing that I need to do, and I'm going to try to get done this weekend, is I need to paint my Mortis engine for the Death Army, because I want to get that back into the list somehow. And I ordered the Crypt Ghouls because all my battle line, I'm going to take the skeletons and zombies out of my battle line and just go with all Crypt Ghouls. That way they can synergize a lot better together, and hopefully I'll be able to run. Come on.
Flesh Eater Court?
Ghoul Patrol?
Oh. Ghoul Patrol!
That's the one. Yeah, because that's what I want to do after playing Josh, at LVO and seeing how his Ghoul Patrol worked, and how really, if you're going to have battle line and you're going to have to do something with your battle line, you might as well make them really good. Yeah. Or at least effective. And right now, the 10 skeletons and 20 zombies, not really effective. So I'd rather just go with something concentrated like that, and make the list a little more punchy. So that was that's it for me in creation.
All right. Ulrich, what have you been up to?
I have not been assembling or painting anything, but I have been creating hobby.
All right.
I bought a Fire Slayers army and then immediately turned around and sold it. Unfortunately, I really wanted to keep it, but we have a guy in our local area group that has really wanted to get into Age of Sigmar, and the only army that he's interested in playing are the Fire Slayers. And seeing as how pretty much have to sell a kidney to do a Fire Slayers army, especially now with the point reduction, he was doing it very slowly, and it was likely never really going to happen. So I instead passed that army on to him. So now we have not only another player in our group, but we have a Fire Slayers army that's going to be showing up regularly, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we have another player that used to play in 7th and 8th with us and go to tournaments and everything, showed up, and I played him. We'll talk about that in the realm of battle, but that's another player. Another guy who used to play like real competitive back in 6th and 7th and then dropped out at the beginning of 8th. Has been low-key showing interest in Age of Sigmar and wanting to get back, but he's kind of worried because some of the anti-AOS crowd might make fun of him.
Oh.
Yeah. So I said, well, you don't let them bully you. You
pull out those big boy pants and let's go.
Yeah. So he got me into bolt action. I can get him into AOS.
There you go, yeah.
So he already bought. He has a ton of, he has whole armies. He just bought a bunch of bases to rebase them and move over. So, our group is growing, and Ryan is doing what he can to get the Denver scene up and going again. It sounds like there's some momentum going up there.
Seems like, every day he's talking about something new or hitting somebody else.
So maybe by the end of this year, or maybe by this time next year, we might be trekking up to Denver for a tournament again.
Get that old mountain region.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
That would be great.
So really looking forward to that.
Sweet.
So, James?
So now let's get to real creation.
Yeah.
So I actually have not done any painting. Told my wife I was going to take a little bit of a break.
Yep.
Since she let me do all that crazy crunch time before the LVO.
14-hour days.
Yeah. So this last week I just put together some of my zine stuff because I can't stand for it to be in shrink wrap. Unlike some people.
You must hate being in this room.
So I built 30 blue horrors, built 20 brimstone horrors. Those were the hardest models I've ever put together.
Why is that? A lot of pieces, or?
No, they're just one piece. You just clip on the screw. And then I put together the Changeling.
Yeah.
Which actually, Mini Stomp, if you ever have to order minis, check out Mini Stomp. They're really good. Give you some really good prices. Actually,
not a sponsor, so that's for real.
Yeah, that's for real. He actually, in my order, was a little bit late, so he threw in some extra goodies, and the changeling was one of them.
Nice.
So he's a pretty sweet
It's
model.
a gorgeous model, yeah.
Really, really big.
Mm-hmm. Bigger than I thought.
Yeah, I think he's bigger than Stormcast Eternal. I was putting him next to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I also built one of my Lords of Change, magnetized him.
I was going to say, he's... Wow.
Yeah,
Awesome.
because I probably use it for 40k, so I got to build him as Kairos.
Yeah.
And then I want to try out all my options on the Lord of Change, the sword, and I'm pretty sure I'll probably stick with the wand, but I want to give the sword a good go.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a pain in the butt to magnetize.
Well, what's the other option? There's the sword.
So it's the sword, the wand that shoots,
Right.
and then you cannot give him a weapon in that hand, and he can use beak and claw attacks. With the big staff.
Right.
So I've got all three because I've got a hand with nothing on it.
But you kind of want the wand. That seems to be the
shooting attack. I mean, we'll see how he is. I mean, I think he's going to be fine now. And wanted all the options magnetized, so I magnetized the head, so I could do Kairos or a regular Lord of Change. And that was kind of a pain in the butt because I had to stuff the body and the heads full of paper towels and then glue some plastic art in there and try to give it something to magnetize to because they're just big, open.
Yeah, they're just open. What I was saying before is when I come across things like that, you find those really, at the hardware store, you can find those really small cans of expanding foam. Because if you use a big can, it'll get everywhere. But you get the little small one and you can just spray it inside. And be really careful because if you spray too much, it'll come
right out. Yeah, that's what I kind of went with paper towels. It was a little bit more controlled. Yeah, and worked pretty good. And then had to magnetize his weapon option. Unfortunately, I tried some smaller magnets and they didn't work. They weren't holding it, so I had to go to a bigger magnet, which made me cut open some of the weapons. So I had to do some green stuff.
Yay.
To hide the magnet. But I think it came out pretty good overall.
Yeah, I think he's awesome.
Pretty happy with it.
It looks great.
So hopefully start painting that stuff. With it being a Zinch army, I might contemplating using an airbrush for the first time.
Ooh, nice.
We'll see. Just to get some of those base, because I'm going to do... I already have a huge Zinch army as it is right now. But of course I have like 30-something screamers I have to paint for 40k.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about doing some transitions from like blues to greens to purple, some crazy stuff like that. And I think an airbrush... I've done it with a paintbrush. It's possible. Yeah. To get a nice blend. It's a lot of work.
Airbrush is so much easier to blend through colors with.
Yeah, and I'm just going to use the base colors, and then my highlights, I can keep those separate. Yeah. So just to get a nice base coat transition. So we'll see how that goes. I have one or two airbrushes, so we'll see how that works out. But
sweet.
That's all I have.
That's it for creation then, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Realm of Battle, where we're going to talk about the games we've played since the last show, and I will be curiously silent.
It's not that curious. Everybody knows you don't play.
I only play at tournaments, man. It's just a thing.
Hey, do better than I do, apparently. I played a multiplayer game last Friday against one of our locals, Chad, and one of the guys that I was talking about earlier who used to play with us and dropped out for, like 2 years now. And I'm play testing some ideas that I have for the narrative event that is coming up in April. So we played a multiplayer 1,000-point game where the objective was in the center. And the idea is it's basically a command item of some type, a crown or a scepter or a big keg of ale, whatever you want it to be. And whoever controls it at the end of the game wins. Pretty straightforward, and that's roughly what we'll be playing for the first game of the narrative. The way I scored it was whoever had the most models within 6 inches at the end of the game won it. But I think I may change it to whoever has the most characters within 6 inches. Or whoever has the most models with the hero keyword, technically. Yeah. I think that might give it more... it'll make it more interesting, rather than just a pile in the middle. Mm-hmm. And then whoever just happens to be the most resilient or killy.
Yeah, with my 80 skinks, I'll just...
Yeah. So. It's possible, too. So I don't have to worry about that, because that army is literally unplayable.
Whoever said that? I'd like to know who had that screwed up opinion.
I don't know. There was going around on the internet not too long ago, some idiot that just had no idea what he was doing about Age of Sigmar was saying that Seraphon were literally unplayable.
You know, those are the kind of people that just take me, oh, I've never played them before, but, you know, they're really stupid. So, yeah,
right.
Hate those kind.
The fake news of Age of Sigmar.
So now that we've dissed me and the Seraphon, about your scenario.
So, yeah, I want to make it so that I want to try it with whoever has the most heroes around it.
Yeah.
That game was, it was fun. I played the Iron Jaws. That's what I had with me. And then Chad played his Beastclaw Raiders, which at 1,000 points, that army is pretty scary. And Cody, the new guy, brought Flesh Eater Court. And he's super jazzed about it because I remember back in 8th edition, he was trying to run an all-ghoul army, which back then was not good. And
it's better
now it's a thing. It's legitimately a thing. So he's pretty happy about that. And that was my first time actually seeing them on the table. And for somebody who randomly threw together a Flesh Eater army minutes before we started playing and had not played any Age of Sigmar beforehand and didn't really know what any of the units did, he still put together a decent list and won. And I don't think we really took anything of his off the table.
Wow.
Yeah, it was...
I think he lost the unit of ghouls.
No, the one guy ran off. Chad didn't kill him.
No, you killed one of them.
Oh, yeah, my war boss, my mega boss, chopped up a unit. That's right. My mega boss killed some stuff before finally succumbing to everything that was on the table. But yeah, it's a pretty cool army, you know, so it'd be interesting to see him start bringing that and learning the game and learning to play that. And we'll get some more stuff in our meta, which is always fun.
Yeah, just the expansion is just going to be awesome.
Yeah, not only from a competitive aspect to see what the armies and stuff do, but just from a fun seeing something besides Iron Jaws, Sylvaneth, and Stormcast on the table every week.
And death.
And snakes.
Yeah, and snakes.
Yay, Necropolis nice. So
you know you love them.
Yeah. But so yeah, that's been cool. James?
So I just had one game. I played Jules this last week. I wanted to play the Warrior Brotherhood. Have one last hurrah before
it goes away.
Before it goes away. I don't think I've actually played Warrior Brotherhood before.
I thought you... Oh, no, you had Andrew practice it against you.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I've actually ever played with it. I was always a Dracoth kind of guy.
They are good.
So, played against Jules's currently legal
According
Tomb
to
King's
the
army.
SCGT updated fact points.
Telling you, man, you have
not
that kid get
official
used
rules
to
yet.
it. Get used
Not
to
official rules yet.
Bye-bye, snakes.
Experimental rules.
Yeah.
So I played your typical Warrior Brotherhood against it. We rolled a random scenario. Rolled Take and Hold.
No, fun.
Which I think, played properly, really plays to his army's strengths.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just a castle of go F yourself. He's like the French dudes from Monty Python. The Holy Grail.
I told him we already got one.
Yeah.
So it was my first game without playing with that Sylvaneth crutch for a while. So...
how is that?
How many trees did you put down?
I'm used to those trees killing all those snakes. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And then Dorothy
and then Dorothy
in.
just sitting there, just come at me, bro.
Yeah.
So, played Warrior Brotherhood, came down in some pieces. He kind of just sat there, waiting for me to come down, pretty much, with 30 zombies in the middle.
Yeah.
6 snakes on each side, with all those characters in the middle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Came down, was able to kill a unit of snakes, kill the zombies. Came down to the last turn, he had a unit of snakes that was just barely close enough to the objective. He had, and it was only one snake, so I had to kill, but of course, you take off whoever you want, so basically I had to kill the whole unit. Was a little bit risky. I mean, it's just a fun game just to see what happens. So, threw my unit of Retributors into it with some Liberators trying to kill it all. Didn't manage to do all the wounds to it. What was left of the snakes came in and killed the Retributors because at this point it was going to move to minor victory conditions and killed the unit of Retributors, which was about a 440 point swing.
Yeah.
Which was just enough for him to get the minor victory over me. So, if I was playing it smart, it would have not. But, it's a practice game. Just roll some sixes.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, he won on that. He won that one. He was pretty happy. I don't think he's beat me since I played Sylvaneth.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, yeah, you don't have that tree crutch anymore.
I know.
You actually have to kill the snakes. Got to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, all the work.
And that's some heavy ass lifting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is. God.
Well, not for long. I'm telling you, got to have them start playing the new points. Get them used to it.
Oh, well, we will. I mean, we got plenty of time.
I mean, you finally lost your crutch. Might as well take his too.
I don't know.
Your
Cephir's still pretty good.
that's stronger than Dwarven Forged Sigmarite.
It has a lot of give to it.
Yeah.
And they're very susceptible to mortal wounds.
Yes.
So.
Right. Oh, so I hear that's one of the big problems with the new Stormcast book. The new Stormcast. Well, I mean, they're not really new, but there's a bunch of new stuff in it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That protects them from mortal wounds?
No, they're really susceptible to mortal wounds.
No, the characters aren't.
No?
Yeah.
No, they got a talisman that's a 5-up.
Yeah, they now have a 5-up.
Oh, yeah. Destruction's got one that's a 4-up. And believe me, it saves your ass all the time.
Chad.
While my shaman's desperately trying to cut himself while listening to Nine Inch Nails music.
An emo shaman?
Yeah, apparently so. I don't know what Gork and Mork is trying to tell him in his head, but it's not pleasant.
Not the message you want.
Burn them all.
So you got anything else for battle?
No, that's...
Okay.
All right, we're moving on, folks.
The Realm of Lore, where we're going to talk about a couple of big topics, one of them being soft scores in events, and how we believe they are very crucial to creating a more positive and vibrant community, as well as
how to fix a game without hitting it with a hammer.
Yeah. So basically, we're going to add our 2 cents to some conversations that other people had. So let's talk about soft scores and events first. This stems a lot from the LVO and the ITC and stuff. This is basically a continuing conversation that we've been having for, pretty much since we started podcasting.
Yeah, really.
So, but we really want to drive it home in how important it is to have soft scores be a part of your event, as far as paint and sportsmanship, because what we saw at the LVO was a pretty good eye-opener in that the 40K event had no sportsmanship and it barely had a painting requirement.
I don't think it had. The only painting requirement was if you wanted to be on the stream.
What that created over there was a completely different game from what we were doing. And the number of people that came over and saw what we were doing with our armies on the table, everyone was painted, everyone was having an absolute blast compared to, I don't want to blast the 40K event. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm saying is it was definitely a different experience for the guys, because we had some friends that played in the 40K event, and it definitely seemed like it was a much different experience than what we had.
Well, I can tell you flat out, my first opponent was Ben Moley. He's a pillar of the 40K community, and he was playing in the Age of Sigmar tournament because he flat out said this was more fun.
Yeah.
It was better. It was a better time.
And it seems like there were quite a few other very competitive 40K players that were looking at what was going on in Age of Sigmar, which is great. That being said, when sports and paint are not a requirement for your game,
you get the environment that 40K has right now.
Right. And that's not what we want in Age of Sigmar. So
what we have to kind of keep an eye on is allowing the vocal minority to determine the direction of the game. And unfortunately, I think that's what happened with 40K, was a vocal minority said that soft scoring and what have you was bad and it was wrong. It became accepted. It happened at a few big events, and then that was it. It just snowballed down into what it is now. It's no better than War Machine. And we have to really be on our guard against something like that happening here, where some people start saying, no, that shouldn't be a part of it. And it has to stay a part of it. Otherwise, in 2 years rather than 10 years, we'll be at that point.
So I've thought about, well, what if you tried to make events that pleased different groups? So like for here, that's why I'm running the narrative event in April that is meant to be a totally fun, crazy fluff type event. Mm-hmm. And then the Rolling Bad Rumble in August is meant to be the more competitive, bring your A game.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to. You can still just come and play.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But that is an event that is specifically meant to cater more towards the competitive aspect, just like the narrative is meant more to cater to the guys who want to play D&D with models on the table.
Right.
And tell a story.
Me.
Right. And me as well. Like that's I don't mind playing the competitive stuff, but I really enjoy the narrative aspect of these games as well. And I'm wondering if that's a feasible approach, but then you kind of have to look at like the demographics of the US and how spread out things are. And could you do something like the LVO where you say, okay, well, in January, we're going to run a hyper-competitive version, and then in July, we'll run a super story-based thing, and you're just not going to get the numbers.
No, and you're going to split it. It'll split up to... I kind of like the way LVO did it, where we had the narrative one day, and then we had the real tournament. So you could do both. You could scratch both itches.
Well, that had something like that for the 40K though, because they had the friendly.
Yeah, they had the 40K friendlies, which was big. And I'll tell you, just from talking out, in the casino floor with the guys, when we would take breaks and talking to some of the 40K guys, and the ones that were in the 40K friendly were having a way better time, because the guys in the tournament they played 9 games.
So that's another thing, is like the pressure. If you won all 6 games of Friday and Saturday, you then made the top cut to play Sunday in the top 8, of which you still had to win those 3 games that day. So you had to not only play 9 games, but you had to win
them
all 9. So that creates like a totally different approach, mindset as well.
But we digress.
Right. So
we want to say, go back to the Rolling Bad Rumble. Even though it's going to be a hyper-competitive event, that's how we're going to spin it. Bring your filth. Bring your A game. We are still going to have hobby score requirement. We're still going to have sports. We're still going to have painting. It's still going to... The percentages might change, but they will be required. Absolutely. They will count towards the overall score.
Yep.
If you want to have an event that... Because I think Scott from Frontline... Ninth Realm.
Yeah.
Friend of the show. I think he's putting together an ITC pack where he's kind of put in 3 ways to play tournaments.
Yeah.
Which, I think is good compromise for everyone. Because I think he's doing like a hardcore version where you don't need paint and you don't need sports. It's just whatever. It's all based on the app. He's doing a good middle of the road one where, battle counts. There is some paint element. There is some sport element. And then he's got, the totally narrative, totally fluffy version of it. So that's something which is fine. I would like to see the big events still. We're still going to have that with Adepticon because Alex Gonzalez is running that. So we're still that's going to be firmly traditional fantasy type of tournament.
I don't know. It sounded like he kind of wanted to, from what I gather, from the outside looking in, it seems like he wants to take it in one direction and a large portion of the regular player base wants to take it in a different direction.
I don't think that has to do with this, though.
Okay.
I think that's his preconceptions of he readily admits that he hates netless, and that's what he's trying to break.
Yeah.
And I think that's the direction he wants. It has nothing to do with necessarily hobby scores or anything like that. It's or even competitiveness, quote unquote.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's his biggest pet peeve is net listing.
Well, he's designing scenarios specifically to beat up net lists and to make it to where if you bring the beat face and you table somebody, you're actually going to lose points overall by doing that. So, I mean, when I was listening to how he was balancing that on the Garage Hammer show, I was like, wow, dude, I wish you all the luck in the world, but I don't know how you're going to make that work. I mean, how do you, it's so hard to build a scenario where you have to let your opponent score some points because that's really the antithesis of gaming where you want to win.
Yeah.
And I mean, I support his effort, but I don't know how you do it.
Well, I mean, that goes into Vince's. I think we're going to talk on this a little bit later, but Vince talked about that where they were talking about schemes from Malifaux and getting those in there where you have a list of them. And you could have something where you want your opponent to kill something. And
right. Yeah. That one that he was using as an example where you want them to kill him so the curse goes to the next unit. And then if you don't have the curse at the end of the game, you win. You win your victory, your scheme.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, so that's kind of one way, but I think
there's ways.
So, I mean, we're still gonna keep pushing this topic. I think we're not gonna. Sorry if you're sick of hearing it.
Right.
But see, that's
we're just gonna keep. We got to stay on top of this. That's what we're doing. We're trying to take an active role in this. We're gonna keep preaching this. Hobby scores matter. We need them in the game. If you don't want to, you run events like that.
Yeah, I think that being said, that if you do want to play. If you do want an event to exist where painting is not a thing and sportsmanship is not a thing, go ahead and run it.
Yeah.
Put it together and throw it out there that's your shtick and that you just want people to come and play the nastiest stuff that the internet tells them they can play or whatever and see what kind of a turnout you get. That's maybe there is a large group out there that is looking for something like that. I don't think there is, but
it'll depend on where you're at too. I mean, if you're
there's that too.
If you're in Southern California and you put an event like that, you'll probably get 20, 30 people. But if you put a narrative event, you'll probably get 20, 30 people. So
yeah.
I mean, and so to borrow other people's terms, it's we've mentioned before, it's a social contract. It's a game. I know a lot of these people, ultra competitive, or we're trying to find the best player, blah, 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 blah. That's not what AOS, that's not what the fantasy community has been about. We're never trying to find the absolute ultimate.
Well, that's a completely subjective term. So I know somebody was saying, like, if you want to find the best AOS player, then you have to take out all the variables and blah, blah, blah. To which I counter, the best general is somebody who can adapt and overcome any obstacles that you put in his way. So if you add additional like secondary and tertiary objectives like Alex is talking about or Vince was talking about, the best general is somebody who's going to find a way to manipulate those in their favor as well and overcome that. So that, again, is a totally subjective viewpoint of what you perceive to be the best Age of Sigmar or any kind of tabletop player. So
I mean that's my point, is that that's never what our hobby has been about.
Yeah.
As a community, it's always about having fun in some way or another. Which we're not gonna tell you how to have fun. If beat faceless is your fun, awesome. If fluffy narrative stuff is your jive, awesome. It shakes out in a tournament like that. And, we're trying to find the overall, have a good time, try to find the best person that encapsulates all three aspects of the hobby.
All of the things that matter.
I mean, because if you think about it, you spend 100 hours painting an army.
Yeah.
It's more time than you usually spend at a tournament playing games.
And then you'll take a long weekend to travel somewhere and spend a tremendous amount of money doing so. It comes back to that social contract of wanting to have a good time. If I wanted to spend a bunch of money to go somewhere and be miserable the whole time, I'd take a vacation with my wife.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have fun.
That's right.
So,
oh God.
It's all right. She doesn't listen.
That's a good thing.
Okay, I think.
Well, I'll go back to what I said earlier this evening when we were talking offline. I went to LVO this year for a very ulterior purpose. That was to find out that it's been 10 years since I've been to a tournament. competitively. And at my age, I wanted to find out if this was worth my time to prepare for and to do all the stuff I did. And I gave up 2 months of my life to this. Do I want to continue down this road? And what I learned at LVO was not only yes, but hell yes. It was a blast. I had 0 bad games. I had 6 great games. Well, 7, 8 great games when you count the stream and the narrative. So this was absolutely fun. Now, if this became competitive and it became beat face and I was running up against armies that were gray plastic, I would never go again.
Yeah.
I would never see it again.
Hold on. Is there a difference, though, between, because you are ultimately going to a tournament.
Yes.
So it should be acceptable. It should be acceptable to come up against competitive lists played by players who want to win the event. Is that different than, are you acceptable to that? And is the divide if those players had brought gray plastic armies?
If the environment was as toxic as some I have seen, I would never have gone back. Ever. And I would have sworn off the tournament thing forever and just played AOS at the store with you guys. But it wasn't that way. I played against ultra competitive people, and I played against people that were just there to have a great weekend. That was the beauty of it.
But I guess what I'm asking is, if your game 1 or game 3 or whatever was up against some like the mixed destruction list that is known for not being the most fun thing to play against, or a double cunning rock or something like that, and that player had brought it, a really good player, and you basically didn't stand a chance. Like, they had just pulled your number and you were going down. But they were having a great time doing it. They were allowing you to have a great time doing it, and you were playing up against a beautiful army. Would you be okay with it?
I'd completely okay. I don't mind getting face stomped. I'm pretty used to it. So,
well, yeah, you keep playing me, so.
Well, that's a face stomping.
Except on the damn stream. One time it counted.
Yeah.
So your issue is if we don't stay on top of making that important,
exactly,
what could happen is next time you go to the LVO or any other event, your round 1 or round 5 is against the same style of player, who doesn't care if you have a good time,
right?
Because it's not incentivized to me to care about what you think,
right.
And my army is not painted, or it's sprayed black and I dotted the eyes and painted red cod pieces on everything. There's my 3-color minimum.
3 colors, yeah.
And I'm on my way to the top table, sucker.
I'm not going to that tournament.
That's the crux of what we're trying to say is very important here.
Yes.
Is that there were very competitive people at the LVO,
ultra competitive,
with some great lists.
Yeah,
but there was more to the event than just trying to crush your opponent. Yes, you wanted to win your games and play to the best of your abilities, but you were incentivized to not be a about it.
That's right.
And to paint your armies, and it just makes the overall event so much richer.
Yeah. I mean, I think I heard someone's recap of LVO. They were talking about Andrew. I think Andrew mentioned that, last game, top table for the win, he let the guy go back and move one of the units or something that he forgot.
Right.
Whereas I heard some 40K people say that, if he would have taken the town model, I would never have let him move it again. Sorry, we're past that. We're done. Moving on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the
difference.
mindset, I mean, we can be competitive. You can be competitive. You could want to win, but there's a different attitude in that where you do anything that's possible, use any rule, any way out to win. And that's not what it's about.
Or saying you used a psychic power when you didn't.
Yeah. Things like that.
But I mean, that's just not our mindset, and it never has been. I mean, sometimes, you get people from that is, but I'm just saying overall, holistically, as a community, that's never been our mindset.
Yeah, there are players that, like, if you forgot to use inspiring presence in your hero phase and you were already starting to shoot, and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to do it. Like, there's plenty of people in Age of Sigmar be like, look, man, hero phase was
I'm
way back
you
there.
Can. I mean, but it just goes to show, I think, the different.
Yeah, that would probably never happen at top tables.
Oh yeah, never, ever, 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 ever.
Yeah, I don't want this to sound. I guess whatever. We are bashing 40K because in 40K it's not required.
Right.
The tournaments don't require. There are some that do. I know that some of the events that the Forge the Narrative guys run and stuff that goes
Warzone
off.
Atlanta, which was a free-for-all, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
From what I understand, that was as good an environment as there's ever been because everyone could do whatever they want, and you knew you were going to be facing, the Tau fish. And
yeah, but you had to have good-looking armies.
Right. And I mean, but it was a different kind of environment.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's because I think they promote a different kind of environment down there.
And I think when you see some of these other tournaments, and I don't want to name any names, I will name, LVO, not because I think it was, badly done or anything, but that's a grind. 9 games is going to wear anybody's nerves down, you know. And by mid-Sunday, I have to imagine some of those guys were just ready to drop.
Especially if you keep playing the same list again and again.
Well, and that's
against the same list.
Yeah, how many times did you see Eldar spam bikes? And, how many times did
there was
you
a lot
see
of Night
Death
Titans.
Stars? Yeah, exactly.
A lot of Night Titans.
I mean, after a while, do you not just get bored playing the same?
Well, that being said, if you had to play 9 games of Age of Sigmar, 2 months ago, and you
against Stormcast,
and like 6 of your games were against, or like 8 of your games were between Stormcast, Warrior Brotherhood,
War Bros,
and Gnarl Root Wargrove.
Yeah.
Would it be like, I
would be.
I don't want to play this stupid game anymore.
But I'll sit there and say right now, granted, I ended up at the middle and then the bottom tables, but I didn't play a single Sylvaneth game at LVO, and I figured I'd have at least 2 of those, and I figured I'd have 2 mixed destruction. I ended up with 1 mixed destruction, and the rest was a broad gamut of all the different armies in Sigmar. Yeah. And they were a blast to play against because 3 of the armies I had never seen on the table. I don't have that fantasy background. Never seen those guys before. And I'm asking these guys dumb questions like, can that thing really do that? And they're like, yeah, no, really. It's right here. I'm like, oh my God, I want one. Will you sell it to me?
I mean, yeah. And I kind of had the same experience. I know there was a conspiracy to try to get me to face 6 Sylvaneth armies.
No.
I'm on to you people.
What?
Yeah.
Us? Never. But back to our main point is if we start to discard those things that make this community great and fantastic, then we will go down that road and we will become, I would say the first step would be to become the 40K kind of environment where nothing really kind of matters, just beat face. Or, heaven forbid we go all the way to War Machine and just, we play with 2D terrain and proxy bases. And,
no, I can't believe I didn't even know that until we were talking about that off air before. Because I used to play War Machine and I've never seen that kind of. I would never play that game.
Yeah, competitive War Machine is
where you play 2-dimensional terrain and then you put down bases to say where your stuff is without using them.
So that you can actually measure.
I'd try not to bash other games. There's other games out there that I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
Battletech. So I try not to say anything negative because I know there's people out there that really do like enjoy them, and I don't want to crap on their parade, but you got to be kidding me.
I know.
2D terrain and then bases with no mod. Like,
it looks about as cinematic as a silent movie from the 20s,
Even then, like, there's at least a plot.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know
things
really
moving on the flashy screen.
On those competitive things, I don't know why they bring models. Why don't you just bring bases with writing on it that says what it is?
Yeah, or
what's the point? No, and I'm not saying because you go to some of those things and the models are beautiful.
Sure, I've seen
some armies that are just
beyond.
Armies. But I think those guys would be the kind of people that would come into Sigmar or 40K or Malifaux and have beautiful armies because that's their thing.
Sure.
So I'm sure if James picked up War Machine tomorrow, the army would be beautiful. So have we beat up tournament scoring enough? Or soft scoring?
So, it kind of dovetails into what I wanted to talk about as well. And if you're not listening to Scruby and Wells, you should, because it's a fantastic show. I was telling Tyler the other day that his show is basically the conversations you have with your buddies after a game of whatever you're playing. You're hanging out at the store, you've picked up your stuff, and you're all just analyzing what happened in the game as a whole. And that's kind of when you can really dig into some meat and potatoes of a discussion. And that's what his show is about and feels like.
So he's 60 minutes to our TMZ.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that puts us way down.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I told. I said, that it's your show is that conversation if it was intelligent people.
Yeah, not us.
So, but he had Vince Venturella from Warhammer Weekly on, and they were discussing quite a bit, but Vince was talking about things you could do mechanically to the game to make the slightest adjustments that can have the desired impact without getting in there and really stripping things down and changing it up. But the one thing that I really wanted to touch on, I think it's really important, is Tyler's had kind of an ongoing narrative of comparing Age of Sigmar and Games Workshop to Magic the Gathering and Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
And
I think I put that idea in his head.
Well, I was telling him there's two big differences between them people on his show haven't talked about. And one of them is this was based around the whole conversation he was having about, in an event, you get these people that are really competitive, and then the people that are there to kind of be more narrative, I guess. Mm-hmm. I really hate creating this, like it's two different people that stand on different sides of the train tracks and, don't want to mingle with each other, because it's just a stereotype that really needs to go away.
Yes.
But that there are people who have different ideas of what fun is, I guess. And when you compare that to Magic, the big difference is in a Magic tournament, everybody's on the same page. Okay. Everybody who's sitting down to play that game is there to win, and win all their games, no matter what, right? That's all they're there to do. Why would you be there otherwise?
Yeah.
Because more importantly, the cards don't tell a narrative. You're not telling a story with the game you're playing or anything like that. So comparing Magic in that aspect to a tabletop game where two players could have two totally different ideas of what the game should be is not a great comparison. Another is, one thing they were talking about was, for events, Wizards does a thing where, regardless of what type you want to run, type 1 or type 2 or legacy or all the nonsense that they have now, regardless of what you want to run, you have to have a judge there.
Yes.
And that judge is an official judge, given that title from Wizards of the Coast. And in order to do that, there's tests you have to take.
Yes.
There's different levels of judges, and those different levels of judges allow you to play different styles of events, bigger events for bigger prize support, stuff like that. And they will give you the structure of which the event must be run by, and you don't deviate from that. You run the event they tell you to run. Games Workshop never has done anything like that. I don't want to say never will, but I seriously doubt that Games Workshop would be like, here is a tournament pack that you must run.
Right.
It's just not something. I'd say the closest they've ever done was they used to have the old Ard Boys back in 7th edition.
Yeah.
Even that, you could probably have modified it in your local store, or however you wanted to. There was nobody there from Games Workshop to enforce the rules of the event. Yeah. So that's another thing between the two that I didn't think was a great comparison, I should say.
Well, the other great comparison is that the barrier to entry is different for both games.
Oh yeah.
The other ones you just go buy cards and you're done. You're playing. The level of investment.
Yes, is
into the different games and hobbies they're on different scales.
Well, and they have a defined tournament format for a tournament that is just bring money. Don't bring anything because you're going to buy it there.
Yeah, sure.
The seal box tournaments and. I mean, it's still a valid, fun way to play, and it's cool, but you would never find us doing that. Find out what army you're playing when you get to LVO,
Well, we could sit here and pick apart all the tiny little differences between the two.
We don't need to do that.
I'm talking from a community and event aspect. Those are the two things that I saw that kind of fall apart when comparing the two. Not only games, but the companies as well. Because again, Wizards has official judges, and they run official events.
And they also have $10,000 prizes, $50,000 prizes, $100,000 big prize, isn't it? Isn't the big prize $100,000?
I don't know, but I know you can make a living playing Magic.
Yeah, Magic. You can
if
do
you're
the
good
tour
enough.
and make a living at it. So that's Wizards has a lot more invested in in the appearance of their tournament system than any other company out there.
Well, yeah, non-digital anyways.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about some of the good points that they brought up?
Well, I wasn't on the show, so they didn't make any good points. No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh, that had to hurt.
No.
It's a little podcast inner jealousy there.
Yeah. So, okay, like what? What do you want to?
Well, he brought, like I said earlier, he brought up some good points where you can dramatically change the landscape of the game without changing points. Points is not the end all be all,
Right?
Which I thought was a very good point. I mean, we see that kind of with the Stormcast army right now. They of course they changed points on a couple of models, but they didn't change the points. They just changed some ability, like he was saying, changed some abilities to not automatically happens on a 4-up.
Right.
That changes the dynamic of the ability.
Well, I think one of the big ones, and we were talking about this off air, is the most dominant list was Warrior Brotherhood. So in order to break that up and make other lists more viable, you take the crux of the Warrior Brotherhood ability.
The zeros.
No, the lightning, being able to deploy anywhere you want, anytime you want.
Okay.
And making that a battle trait, but not guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
you can still take Warrior Brotherhood right now.
For now.
I think the crux of it was the zeros, kind of.
Sure.
Because I could see if they still made that the ability, but the zero still had his way of his lantern thing. I think you'd still be seeing Warrior Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Or, well, yeah, a newer version,
a different
of it.
version of it, but it would still be
Because the War Scroll is going to go away when General's Handbook 2 drops, because it's not going to have points anymore.
Possibly.
Well,
You said that about snakes, and they're going to be in general.
I think this is different.
Well, okay, we'll see.
This is different.
I mean, but right now you can still play Warrior Brotherhood,
Right.
but the lantern has changed.
Yeah.
So you're not going to play Warrior Brotherhood because that's what made or break. That's what made or broke the list was the zeros,
Right.
pretty much. And they changed the zeros to change one model.
Yeah.
And they changed the dynamic how the army plays.
Well, and what they did was it's not an army-wide nerf. It's not a slap in the face to everybody that's playing it. Because, yes, you lost this one thing. You lost your list. And what you gained was 10 or 11 choices, some of which you have the models for, some of which you might have to go buy a box of this or a box of that. But you are now just as competitive as you were yesterday without feeling like you just got slapped in the head.
Yeah, like they just took your whole army down a peg.
Yeah, which to me this is so not the way GW's handled things in the past, which, I mean, we've all been through it, where there are huge changes made to armies via a FAQ or via a new edition that simply, I mean, look at the change 5th to 6th. You know, my Black Templars went from, oh my God, you're not playing them again, to, oh no, go ahead, play your Black Templars. They're fun to kill, you know? Right. So it was a huge change.
Yeah.
And that was horrible. I hated that. Now I'm sitting here thinking, I have all the parts of a really cool Stormcast list, and most of it is built already. I could be playing that thing on the table in a few weeks. Well, at the rate I paint next year for LVO maybe, but so that to me is a great way of changing the game perfectly without screwing anything up, without changing basic rules. Love it.
Right. But also looking at the point changes, I think the upcoming, what we got teased with the Fire Slayers and death adjustments is also a more direct approach.
Well, and in that one you had no choice. There was nothing you could do to Fire Slayers in the text or in the battalions to make them better. You had to drop their points.
Yeah, other than to fundamentally change every war scroll and what they do.
Yeah.
Just by giving them more abilities and taking them from a more horde approach to making all their units elite. And that's way more work than just saying, well, what would it do to just add another unit and a half and a character? Mm-hmm. Would it make the desired effect? And there's already been some people out there playing. I know Kenny Lowell took his Fire Slayers to Holy Wars. And he said it made a significant difference to the way the Army played.
Sure.
He felt like he actually had a chance. The flip side to that is the death adjustments with the snakes going up in price. And, James, you say that the Cetra adjustment. I'm not as convinced. I think it was probably warranted. To me, I think the biggest part was the snakes getting the point bump.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think you pointed out with Iron Jaws, you change one thing, and I think they have a lot of options where they could drop that non-essential part and still absorb the cost of those snakes. So I think they did need the point across the adjustment with Cetra and the general on the Necrosphinx.
The Royal War Sphinx.
Yeah, I think those were good calls.
Yeah, because it doesn't prevent Death players from bringing that stuff, or Tomb King players, but it does, adjust the lists and the meta and stuff like that.
Well, it is just the fun you're going to have playing against that army.
Yeah.
Because as it currently stands, before the book drops and before this becomes official, it's not a fun army to play against.
I don't know. I would rather play against it than some other stuff.
Sylvaneth?
No, actually. I'd rather play against Sylvaneth than
Triple
Con and
Stone
Rock.
Oh, Con and Rock, forget that.
Yeah, so.
But, it's the same thing with, Beast Claw Raiders is who wants to go up against 3 Stonehorns,
This guy.
You want to.
Yeah.
With what?
Well, just test yourself. Just make it work.
Yeah.
Figure it out. I mean, there's a way around it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, again, I point out that, yes, it won Heat 1, but then it didn't. Another list didn't come anywhere near the top 20.
Right.
So it's not like it's the end-all, be-all.
Well, and it goes back to that whole thing of, I know I didn't play against, the vaunted net mixed destruction list, but I played against Arturo with his Beast Claw, and yes, they were very tough, and yes, they beat the hell out of me, but I never felt like I was way out of that game and had no chance, and it was no fun. Had a blast playing against that army because it really was fun. Again, it wasn't the filth list. It was a fun list to play against. Had stuff I could kill, and he fed it to me, and I tried to kill it. But, it was still, I never felt like I was completely out of that game. That's the difference between Sigmar and so many other games out there is there's nothing in this game that is exalted to the point of you can't, if that's in the list, forget it.
Yeah, that's true. That's one of the beauties of anything being able to hurt anything.
Yeah, look at Alariel drowning, at Holy Havoc. Did you read that story?
No.
So Alariel went through a dangerous terrain river. So she rolled her roll, and she rolled a 1 and went, hee, that's funny, Alariel going to drown in a river. And she had a tournament reroll, so she picked it up, rolled it again, rolled a 1. So there's a gigantic portion of your army that just died in a river.
Wow.
It was funny. Was that Kelfry, or was that
No, that
Kelly?
was Rallian's wife.
Oh, really? Okay,
Andrea?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was just funny because she twittered about it right away, and I was just watching Saturday morning, and I went, "There's no way. That's my kind of luck. That shouldn't happen to anyone else."
Jeez.
So, yeah, it was sad.
Well, I don't know if we really have. You guys have anything else?
Did you want to cover the narrative event that you keep hinting that I don't think anyone knows about except for our Facebook Messenger group?
Well, I know all
I've
about
mentioned it on the show before. So the narrative event is going to be on the 15th and 16th. It's an escalation event. So on the Saturday, we'll play a 1,000-point multiplayer game, a 1,500-point game, and a 2,000-point game. And then on the Sunday, we're going to play 2 2,500-point games. So, yeah.
Gash.
Yeah. He'd actually be a thing at that point level.
Mm-hmm.
Gordrak wouldn't be... No, he'd still be pretty terrible.
No, he'd be garbage.
But yeah, definitely come check it out if you're anywhere in the area. And if you can't make that, because I know we haven't really hyped that one up so much, LVO kind of tripped up some planning on that. It will be a yearly thing, though, so next year I will be doing another narrative. The Rolling Bad Rumble 2 will be in August. I have not set a weekend specifically for it yet because I need to work some logistical kinks out, but it will be in August. So if you need that much time to plan, coming out, hopefully that works for you.
Yep, 2,000 points.
Yeah.
ITC event.
So, if you feel like coming, give us a heads up. It'd be nice to kind of get a round number of potential attendees.
For that event, we have pretty decent terrain. I'm looking to get more, so they will be hopefully pretty nice tables if that's something you're into.
Yeah, I think we had pretty nice tables for last year's Rumble. I know they're not Steve Herner tables,
no,
but
but we're not Steve Herner.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, I want to have my Roma battle boards done for the narrative.
Yeah,
so
both of them, or
no, just the Age of Sigmar one.
Don't you have like just a generic?
I had that one's already done.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Then I have the Sectum Imperialis for 40K, which don't have a lot of interest in putting together right now. But the Sigmar one's really cool. I like that one.
Yeah, and your mini boxes of terrain.
Mm-hmm. Got a Hellfort down there, so.
Hellfort.
Want to put those together and we can use them for the rolling back?
Yeah, I'm going to be working on terrain here shortly. I did the ruins of Osgiliath over there. Oh, that was my hobby. That was my creation right there. I built the ruins of Osgiliath. I missed one. Damn it.
Osgiliath was a lot bigger than that.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was a city. Now it's just 3 walls. Right away. Yeah, it's. I don't know why they defended it. I would have left. Like,
yeah, right. Like, you want me to stand here and guard these 3 walls when Minas Tirith is like 20 feet away, apparently.
My agent told me location, and this is a bad one.
Yeah, right.
So do we have anything else, or are we going to call it in early?
I think that's it.
Yep.
All right. Remember, folks, we've got a contest going on. You can win your very own copy of the Stormcast Eternals Battle Tome. All you got to do is go on iTunes and leave us a reasonably positive review. Don't tell us what you really feel. Tell us what you think we want to hear.
Be honest.
Well, you can email us with your creative, constructive criticism.
Yeah.
On iTunes, try to say nice things. Yes, we are trolling for reviews. So, anything else?
I think that's it.
If you would like to get a hold of us, you can reach us at our email address, which is rollingbadpodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit our website at rollingbad.com. We have a Twitter account for the podcast, which is at rolling_bad. We also have a Facebook page. You can just search for Rolling Bad on Facebook. We each have an individual Twitter account. You can reach me at Elric Edge.
You can get me at Bill Castello, Castello.
And I'm at Tersoth.
You can also see our work, mostly James, at our Instagram page, Rolling Bad, all one word.
Now let's do a show.
I could go on a total anti-Apple rant.
Yes, you could, but you
right
won't.
Now.
I think you hate everything.
No, it wouldn't.
So.
He'd lose his mind trying to build those models.
Well, that's true. He would.
Yeah, I don't do metal models.
Mold lines and...
Here, James, could you build some Scorn for me?
Yeah, I have all this old Signar metal. Would you just throw that together and paint it for me? I'll pay you.
Yeah. I played a big game of Bolt Action. That was...
Hashtag not a bold action podcast.
Yeah, right.
Hashtag not a 40K either, but we go there.
It's so weird. Every time I listen to Age of Sigmar, like, I keep looking at my Space Marine collection and wanting to put it together and paint it. I don't know why. There's like this subconscious thing about their show.
This is us winning friends.
As well as shit. What else?
Other stuff. Stuff. That's what I wrote down. Stuff.
Okay. Let me start that in.
April 16th and 17th. Coming at you. Please tell me it is.
Hold on.
I told my mom I'd be on TV those days. So, are we going to be covered? Is the Warhammer guys coming to cover the narrative?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, cool.
Just be me with an awful British accent. Yeah, it's the 15th and 16th. Or 16th and 17th.
15th, 16th, 17th.
Somewhere in there.
Tax day onward.
Oh, my God. Bill, you got to take all this crap out.
Why? This is going to the blooper
15th
reel.
and 16th.
15th and... Okay.
So tax day and the day after.
Yeah.